It was very
so I just have to call
interesting
Richard Pitt.
Right, there you go.
I still think it's the best 4GL relational database that exists because I tried Oracle, I tried DBase 3, I tried 20 different
database
programs,
managers, yeah.
and it was the easiest, and anybody can understand if they work at it for a day.
Send me a question, and I'll tell you why you should use FilePro. And the small computer company. Well, I'm not sure what they call themselves these days. That was what it was. But anyway,
it's still the small computer company, but they moved from New York to
Florida or someplace.
The Indianapolis 500.
Indianapolis, Indiana, right?
Indiana, okay. And they're still there. Right. And they've come up with there's a newer version that's come out again now.
They're mostly Windows oriented these days, although they do still have or support.
Well, they have a Linux one.
Yeah, but all the graphical stuff is all done in Windows.
Well, they're doing graphical stuff. I am never. When I had a whole bunch of offices, it was worth it to me to produce a program that my offices could use. Yes. Because I controlled it and I had such great access to information on it. No program I bought since. I bought $40,000 worth of U.S. and Canadian programs in the last 5 years since I started.
And every single one of them, in order to do any work, you have to take your hands off the keyboard.
You got to use the mouse.
You got to use the mouse.
Yeah, and so mine was completely keyboard oriented, and it was so fast and so quick, and there were 10 fingers controlled the whole damn program, page, screen, like that. It was just so much for Intuit. And then right now I've got Intuit's Pro Series, and I've got Intuit's Profile, both owned by the same company, and there is absolutely no relationship between those two programs. Because Intuit bought a U.S. program, and Intuit bought somebody else's Canadian program, and now they own them and they sell them, but...
Anyway.
It's always done that. We've covered that. We've seen that. We've been there, done that. Oh, what are we putting on after you? You said you're going to run one of my old Ingram show archives from Shaw.
We're going to run, what is it, Mitchell, up there?
Dal Richards.
And
Art Jones.
From November 5th, 1999. Now, this is one of your Rogers shows.
Is it a Rogers
show?
Yeah, it is Rogers show, yes.
And we're going to run that in the third hour. We're just going to let it run out because we're all going to go and have some dinner.
Well, Dal Richards, of course, is still...
Yes, he is. And a friend of mine, Gordon Allery, has had Dal come to his party at his house over in Burnaby. I guess it's Burnaby, over by Burnaby Lake. Many years that I've come over there. He has Dal there with his orchestra, with his little combo and playing music. Dal's still playing music.
Well, that was like when we were at the Bannerman birthday one time, and Jillian and her combo came in and played. Yeah. But making a long story short, Dal. Now you heard the interview I did with Susan Jacks.
Yes.
And one of the people I mentioned was Rick Honey.
That's right.
And she said, "I know Rick." Yeah, or knew Rick because Rick's passed away from cancer. He used to play the drums and Neil Young's band when it played at my coffee house.
And I met Rick. Actually, I met Rick through Bannerman at one of Bannerman's gatherings out at the racetrack in Cloverdale.
That's right. And one of the funny things about that was that when he had a New Year's or Christmas party one time, and Josie and I went, and Rick and Gail went. Gail and Josie were wearing identical mink coats. Because we'd both been down at what's his name, Constanto, the Papa's Furs.
Oh, Papa's Furs.
And Constantine had looked after us, and
we
ran into each other there. But we were sort of looking at different things at that time. Christmas gifts for our wives.
Oh yes.
And we ended up with the same coat at the same party, so that was sort of fun. But I just wanted to see there's a dip. Do you know that Rick also had a starter wife?
I didn't know that. No.
Starter wife was Muriel Honey, who was very active in the Rick Hansen campaign. She was the person who looked after, and then she went over to save the fur-bearing animals and getting against the leg-hold trap.
Okay. Yeah.
But do you know who she's married to now?
You're not going to say Terry Jacks, are you?
No, that's another story, and we can talk about when Terry threw the dish rag. Susan's still sitting over there. Do you know who Dal Richards? Do you know who Dal Richards is, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay. He's married to Rick Honey's starter wife, Muriel Honey. See,
okay.
you got to know you got to put all this stuff together.
That's right. That's right.
You know, if you don't have a program, how can you keep track of what's going on?
We listen to you.
You know, I not to the greatest know-it-all I know is David Hancock.
Yes.
He knows something. I have driven with David for
You've gone
days.
out grouse hunting and you don't use a gun, you use a trap.
Well, no, we don't use traps
don't
either.
even use traps.
We use nooses, and we put a fishing noose. Peter Mitchell hasn't caught a grouse that way, but Peter, the other son, has.
Yep.
And we've been doing Alaska, the Northwest Territories, Yukon Territories, and all over BC, catching grouse and ptarmigan.
Yep.
And an eagle one time. And a dead owl.
Pretty easy to catch.
Pretty easy to catch. Oh, that was a stupid thing. I shouldn't mention that. We found an owl on the road that had been hit. So we stuck it in the back of the vehicle, forgot all about it, and drove into Alaska and Skagway and over to Haines, and suddenly realized we had this illegal animal that we'd taken across the border. David being a director of CITES, I mean, this was really silly.
This is very silly, that's right. But anyway.
I shouldn't tell this story on the air, but it's so long ago, it's past any statute.
Well, certainly in the U.S., it's past the statute of limitations, I would expect.
But it's a good story.
There isn't such a thing in Canada, is
so
there?
So we went and looked up the local game warden and gave it to the game warden, and he told us where there was a lady that was a taxidermist, so we donated it to the taxidermist in Haines, Alaska. That's where that dead owl is. And I don't think Mitchell remembers the story of when we're driving to the Grand Canyon and we're coming up to Williams, Arizona.
The snake?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you picked it up with the forks?
Yeah, I bought it.
That's not on your hat now, is it?
No, that's a
and
different
Peter
snake.
refused to use a fork for the next 4 months because
he didn't know which one it was. In the motorhome.
That kind of fork. I thought
so
I
went out with a couple of forks and I went under. I mean, I used my fingers this way, but I went out and I picked it up. I don't know why I used forks because I wasn't afraid of it. And it was a dead snake and being hit by a car. But it was beautiful. It was like 8 feet long, king snake.
Yeah.
So I sort of coiled it up and stuck it in the fridge in the motorhome. And then when we got to Williams, I hunted up a game warden and gave it to them. And they were thrilled to have this beautiful snake. They were just, they were ecstatic. And
some places would be ecstatic just because it was roadkill and they were hungry.
Yeah. And but this was a beautiful example of a big king snake. They said it was the largest one they'd ever seen. So they were so ecstatic that I brought it into their station. Yeah. And they had samples. They had some heads and they had some things around. But they didn't have a snake. They had a little, about a 4
This one obviously hadn't been quite run over, but it had been hit.
Yeah, it was dead on the road anyway. Yeah. And we stopped. And so, you see a decent roadkill, you should pick it up and give it to somebody.
On Vancouver Island, and again, this gets back to Hancock.
It's not a girlfriend.
We've had cameras down at Goldstream Park.
Yes,
well,
in the
Goldstream, the estuary there, where the camera, the main pan tilt zoom is, which unfortunately I don't think is working right now because somebody aimed it at the sun and they have to fix it. But it's right out on the estuary, and there's deer and all sorts of things around. Well, the biologist who used to work out of that facility would pick up. He was always looking for roadkill, like a deer or something like that, and they took it out and they put it beside the. They put it beside this camera, and for about 2 days you could watch.
The thing decomposing?
Well, not decomposing. Oh no, the coyotes got in there, the bear got in there.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Oh, it was fascinating. But one of the interesting things that we saw there, and again, this is something that Hancock had never seen before. Do you know what a bufflehead is?
It's a fish.
It's a duck.
Well, it's a duck. Yes.
It's
okay.
Duck.
Yes.
Okay.
I do know that.
Little buffleheads. There's an underwater camera there.
Yeah, because you were doing spawning salmon.
That's right. And They've got video of buffleheads
Diving?
eating the dead salmon carcasses. Nobody knew that they ate the salmon carcasses. They're down under the water, swimming back and forth, and picking at these salmon carcasses.
Why not?
But nobody'd ever seen it before.